Okay, folks, I was originally going to make this video before I'd heard that there was any announcement coming out of the Orlando MegaCon where Eric July is having fun and with the rest of the Rippaverse crew, but I am glad I waited. I'm glad I waited for that Horseman announcement. Did you see that? Did you see that thing? Yeah, wow. Okay, couple things. One of the things that I was talking about in my live stream yesterday was how I really felt like there really wasn't much left in the Rippaverse tank. You've got these properties that Eric July has come up with. You've got ISOM, you've got Alpha Core, you've got Bloodruth, you've got Gooding, you've got all these characters. And maybe you've got a little backstory associated with each of these characters, but as far as where these characters are going, I don't think Eric's actually developed any of that with the exception of ISOM. With the exception of ISOM, in which he has, thought out his first story arc, I don't think there's much for any of these characters to do. I don't think he's got a vision going forward for this company. I don't think he's got a plan going forward. And I think that's one of the reasons why, just recently, even though he's got characters that run the whole gamut of genres, he's out there asking people, what genre do you want to see next? Well, for fuck's sake, Eric, you've got all these characters of all these different genres. Why don't you just release the ones according to whatever story you've got mapped out for the Rippaverse? And then I thought, oh, Mike, oh, fuck, man, you're assuming too much. You're assuming he does have a map. You're assuming he does have stories laid out. But the evidence for that is actually not there. In fact, you've got some contrary evidence based on some stuff that Chuck Dixon wrote in the back of Alpha Core. Because one of the things he says is, long story short, Eric July asked me if I'd like to do some writing in the Rippaverse. The rules were simple. I'd write a graphic novel further developing the superpowered cops who patrol the skies and streets of Florispark. That was it. That was it. Nothing else. He didn't have a story. He didn't have fuck all for Chuck Dixon to do. This isn't going anywhere, people. This whole universe doesn't have a plan. There's no coherent theme behind it other than put out ISOM number 1, put out ISOM number 2, put out ISOM number 3, see what the people seem to like for the characters, and then just go where the money is. That's the only thing that's here in this universe. There's no other plan. And so when he's out there asking for genres, it's because he just wants to know who's going to pay for what. And that's it. And then I guess he'll put forward whatever character property will satisfy that. He's not actually looking for new genres in the sense of, what haven't I introduced already that we could add into the universe? Because he's practically added in everything there could possibly be in one way, shape, or form. He's got, I had thought at one point, because of what somebody had said of Yaira on the Documon card, that maybe she's an alien. And I really should have paid more attention to the maybe portion of that. So as far as science fiction goes, I had thought that she was a prime candidate for that, but maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's more into the mythology aspect because she's also referred to on the card as an ancient. I don't know really for sure because I didn't spend $100 to buy a set of cards that's supposed to tell me things that I would eventually find out in the comics anyway, eventually being like 5 or 6 years from now, at the rate at which Eric actually reveals information in the Rippaverse, or allows information to be revealed in the Rippaverse. And one of the reasons I strongly suspect that he holds all this information so close is that there's so little of it. I'm thinking that the Rippaverse Bible, if you were to look at it, is about yay thick. It is a narrow freaking document. It's probably, he'll probably hold up a big spiral notebook, but if you actually looked at the contents in there, there's like maybe 3 or 4 pages of actual text. And that's it. Because where is it all? We haven't seen freaking any of it. Even in the books where it would be most useful to put that kind of stuff out. We just had ISOM number 1 and number 2. And instead of the governor of Texas, who is on the front who was on a TV show, page 2 of ISOM number 1, telling us a little bit of backstory about the world in which we inhabit, we get nothing except for maybe 1 or 2 remarks about how crime has gone down in Florist Park since he took office. But as far as the history of the Rippaverse, we get nothing. Even though we had a whole blank page for page 1, a page devoid of any text, other than, here's the police department, this is 2 weeks earlier, yada yada. But nothing in the way of captions or dialogues or any words that would have come off the TV screen to tell us a little bit about the world of Florist Park, about the world of ISOM, about the universe that we've chosen to inhabit with our money. There's so little value in those pages, and where is it going to be provided in the future? Honestly, I don't know, because I don't think there's much there. I think it all has yet to be created. I think there's probably a little hollow outline of here is what happened, maybe a little timeline, kind of like you see in that Ghost Machine number 1, where you see the Jeff Johns unknown war kind of thing, or the unnamed, or the timeline that he gives you, where it's got just little slices, and hopefully you can put the pieces together from there. And that may be it. That may be all we get. And the further proof, I think, is in what happened today. The Horseman announcement. Where the hell did this guy come from? Well, we know because it says so right in the announcement. It came from the mind of Joe Bennett. Joe Bennett communicated this to Chuck Dixon, saying, hey, we ought to have a street-level hero in the Rippaverse. And then Chuck Dixon apparently took whatever Joe Bennett was thinking and communicated that to Eric July, or maybe they both went to Eric July, and I don't know how Joe Bennett actually communicates with them since he doesn't speak English. But in any case, Eric July just takes it. I'm like, don't you have an Alpha Core 2 to give them? And I thought, oh my, you're giving him too much credit. Who the hell ever said that Alpha Core had any kind of arc or direction or future in his mind? No, silly goose. No, there's no future ahead of any of these characters. He hasn't thought of one for them. The only thing he knows is that ISOM has a part 3 coming up, and he's still not sure how to resolve that. So how do you push that out? See, this is what I think is happening here. Granted, Joe Bennett, Chuck Dixon, they come to Eric July and they say, hey, we've got this idea. And Eric July says, you know what? I've got a need for that idea, because honestly, I don't have the friggin' idea where ISOM number 3 is going to go. I don't know how the art's going to be now that all of this 3D asset stuff has been revealed, and now there's all this controversy swirling around it. There's probably going to have to be revisions out the wazoo. I had planned for this to come out in the summer of 2024, but maybe I should push this out another 3 months, and your property might be exactly what we need to shove this into place. Never mind Alpha Core, because, it's just going to wind up having Alpha Core number 2 and a number 2 issue. That just sells less than the number 1 issue anyway. So, and the only thing I actually care about is trying to rake as much money out of my fans as I possibly can. So let's go ahead with your idea. Let's go with that Huntsman thing. We'll have Yaira in the winter of 2024, the first quarter. And then we'll have Gooding in the spring, and then we'll have Huntsman in the summer of 2024 instead of ISOM number 3, and that'll make sure that we all have enough time to make sure that ISOM number 3 is not a complete shit show, like ISOM number 2 was. And all I can think is, where are all the king's horses and all the king's men? Where are all the ideas that Eric July was supposed to have? Where's all of the enthusiasm and belief in his own properties and vision of what he wanted for this company? See, that's where I think that the Rippaverse is really deficient at this point is in that centralized vision of where is this universe going, you know? Because you kind of want to have, if only for the individual characters or properties that you're dealing with, you want to have an idea of where their arc is, because these are not by any means well fleshed out characters, even the ones that we've seen so far. These are just characters that, have appeared before our eyes in some very insubstantial form, especially Alpha Core, in the pages of ISOM number 1 and ISOM number 2. They got some fleshing out in Alpha Core number 1 that kind of sort of matched what we saw in ISOM number 1 and number 2. But to think that there's nothing ahead of them, that there's no plan, that there's no story that takes priority over, hey, we've got an idea. How about this for a new number 1? And by the way, where are the details on that number 1? I mean, yes, we've got the Horseman, who we've never seen in any other Rippaverse property because he didn't come from the mind of Eric July. Can you give me any reason why this character intrigues, I don't know, Eric July? What does Eric July see in this character? What is it about the character that made him say, you know what? I think you're right. Instead of Alpha Core number 2, which features my characters that I believe in, I'm going to take a chance instead on this Horseman number 1 because, this number 1 may actually do better than an Alpha Core number 2. Well, that's showing faith. That's showing faith in your own ideas over just, whatever contributions are being made outside of that. And how is that conveying any enthusiasm when you're not even making the announcement yourself? Chuck Dixon made the announcement for Horseman number 1. Chuck Dixon, not Eric July. Now look, Eric July is supposed to be the Black Stan Lee, right? Okay, well, how about acting like Stan Lee acted and being super enthusiastic about these properties that are coming to you? You've got this new character who nobody knows anything about because it's never been mentioned before except in vague comments about Chuck Dixon and Joe Bennett talking about a street-level character. And now that the announcement is made, it's like, oh, here's the street-level character we were talking about, and nothing from Eric July to make the initial announcement. Does he even know anything about the character? Or did he just basically say, okay, you've got something that can fill the spot so I can push ISOM number 3 off? Go for it. Just go for it. I don't see how we can be any more excited for the Rippaverse than the Rippaverse's own founder is. And that is where the enthusiasm deficit really lies. I don't see an enthusiasm surplus in anyone who's basically asking customers all the time, where do you want to go with this? What do you want to see? Where can I get the money at? That's not vision. That's just dollar signs in the eyes. That's not creativity. That's just capitalism. And I'm not even saying capitalism in a negative fashion. I'm just saying that capitalism ain't art. Why should we believe in the Rippaverse when he doesn't? I don't have an answer for that. Honestly, the Horseman might be the first Rippaverse volume that I just skip altogether. I'll have to work that out with my subscribers because, they may want to see it. I may just not have the time or the money to spend on that kind of nonsense. Honestly, to not even step forward and connect yourself with that title, with that property right from the get-go to let people know that this is something that you are 100% excited and enthusiastic about, and instead let, the freaking writer have to do the promotion for it. I don't even know. I don't even know if he cares anymore. Okay, that's enough for me. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll turn out to be a wonderful book. You always gotta take that into account. I'm looking forward to finding out whether Yaira #1 is any good. Hopefully there'll be an announcement about that in the near future, and then maybe we'll get announcements on the 2025 schedule, and we'll find out when Norfolka is finally going to hit the scene, and maybe Bloodroot will hit the scene, and maybe there'll be a #2 comic from somebody instead of just a ISOM #3 being the only comic to actually make it past #1. Although I've heard that Yaira #2 is already in the making, but who knows? Maybe Eric will develop an allergy to #2 issues after seeing the drop off from ISOM #1 to ISOM #2. And who knows what the drop off might be to ISOM #3. So, I wish I could say I had confidence, but yeah, that ship has sailed. Anyway, that's about as much doomsaying as I'm about willing to do for this evening. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to catch up on my live streams. I just had 2 this past week. I think you'll find them interesting, and I do have them broken up into chapter breaks now so that you can delve into them topic by topic if you like, and just click on the sections that you think are most interesting to you. I always prefer looking at that whenever I've got like a Lex Fridman 3-hour podcast in front of me, and I'm like, I don't want to listen to this whole thing. Is he going to talk about something interesting here? Oh, good. Here's a nice 20-minute chunk on artificial intelligence, or here's a nice 30-minute chunk on the Middle East conflict or something, and that at least makes a live stream much more digestible. So I have taken the liberty of doing that for y'all and carving my live streams up into chunks that you can look at the progress bar down at the bottom, or the the timeline bar down at the bottom, and you will get little titles that go along with each corresponding section. So please do take the opportunity to check out my live streams and go to the sections that you find most appealing from their chapter headings. I'm Mike Partika. Thank you again. Please do subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully there will be more exciting news to come out of Rippaverse. And by more exciting, I mean not more in quantity. I mean I mean something that's more exciting than what we heard today, because I'm just bored already. Talk to y'all later.